morning, my brothers and sisters. It is just after 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on September 4th, 2022. Hope our Creator is keeping you well and safe wherever you are in the world. Please make sure to hit that like button and share this across other platforms. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell in case you happen to be new if we have any critical future updates. Folks, just as I predicted the other day, we are right up here into KP Index 5 and 6. Putting us into a G-2, and the heat is on. That's right. If we look here at College Station, here in Texas, we are up to KP7, which is on the higher side. However, this may not be over yet, folks. As you can see, these are 3-hour blocks. We came up into G1, and now we're up into a solid 2. We could actually touch up here into 3. It is possible. And then to come back down into 2, and then we could drop back out of 1 and then back up into 2 again. Okay, we could come down and up. Now, the reason for that? Well, we'll get to that here in just a moment. Over to our real-time solar winds, we can see that we had our BZ and BT, basically our north and south polarities, were bouncing all over the place yesterday. Not quite putting us into an event, but then we started getting into event mode late last night. Now this is UTC time, and then of course today we definitely went into event mode as we peaked over into today. You can see we recovered and then bam, we slammed back down, and so we're definitely being impacted. These are definitely indicative of an impact. So let's go take a look at that. And here we are looking at Space Weather Prediction Center, and we are looking at our geomagnetosphere cut plains pressure. Yes, the pressure is high. So let's take a look at this. So the heat is on. Now you have to understand, folks, when we have the heat and pressure, when there's a lot of density to it, density causes drag, which causes friction, which causes heat. So the heat is on, the pressure's on. We can see our bow shock. We're back here at about a -10, but if you notice, it's not a whole lot of solar winds. Now, obviously, this doesn't go back far enough to get the actual initial impact, but I'm sure with the initial impact, we actually probably came back here to about a 20 to 25, just by judging on how these solar winds are coming out. They're not super strong, but they're consistent. Okay, now a lot of people want to overjudge coronal mass ejections and underplay solar winds, when that's not always a good idea, because solar winds can actually cause more issues than a coronal mass ejection, because a coronal mass ejection, we get hit with it, poof, and then it's gone. But with solar winds, they can stay on us for quite a long period of time, and when you're constantly being bombarded like nonstop, that causes a lot of issues as well. Now, what does a G2 level storm mean? It means high latitude power systems may experience voltage alarms, long duration storms may cause transformer damage. Okay, you got corrective actions to orientate may be required by ground control, possible changes in drag effect orbit predictions. Other systems, high frequency radio propagations can fade at higher latitudes, and Aurora has been seen as low as New York and Idaho, typically around the 55-degree geomagnetic latitude. Okay, and we'll actually take a peek at that here in just a little bit. But so you've got all of your marine boats, your ships and stuff. They use shortwave radios, high-frequency radios. They're going to have issues. Some of your first responders, they're going to have issues as well, because they use the same kind of technology for communications back and forth. Now, check this out. This is within the last 24-hour maximums. This is latest observed. Okay, so right now, they're saying that right now we're in the green, which I don't understand that, because you can see that we're still in a red zone. Now, predicted was G2. Now, let's actually go back here. Let's go on down here, and we might have to go to a different location. Let's come on over to Space Weather Enthusiast. This might be a little bit better for us. Here we go. See, they're showing us in here, latest observed none, but we're here in a KP6 index. Now, that's just here. Again, in college. Now, this is globally. You've got to understand this is globally. This is not like necessarily where you are. So what I would suggest is go to SolarWolf, like I showed you in the beginning, or SolarHam, and actually tap on that image, and it'll show you closer to where you might be. But here you're looking at KP6, G2. This is current right now, but they're showing as a 3, but we're not there yet. This is based on their prediction, but this is where they're at, and I believe that's where this is coming from, because this is what their prediction is. So they're definitely off just a wee bit. Just for giggles, I figured I'd show you guys this. Look at this departing sunspot group. Look at how big and nasty that thing is. Woo. Now, once again, this is facing more towards Jupiter, and we're between Saturn and Jupiter, so once we get closer to Jupiter, they could be this big right as they're facing us. Keep that in mind. Okay, here's Earth, and here's Jupiter. Okay, that sunspot group is like right over here, and it's about out of our viewing area. So it's closer towards Jupiter and Mars than it is to us. But once we get over here and we're in the way between Jupiter, I mean, think about those magnetic connection lines I've shown you guys. Yeah, we're going to be, we could definitely see a whole lot of flaring and a whole lot of coronal mass ejections, large sunspot groups once we get over here and we're right in between Jupiter and Neptune. Could you imagine if Saturn was over here too? Oh my God. If you happen to be an Aurora photographer, you should have been out last night. Okay, now let's check this out. You got the northern and southern hemisphere. Okay, and I've actually got this one sped up to where you can actually start seeing it, but let's check out the northern hemisphere. And let's watch this thing as it comes into play. And bam, look at this. With everything that we had going, there was no way you weren't going to see Aurora, especially here at the towards the north. If you happen to be in Washington State, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, even the upper parts of Michigan, especially, definitely in Canada, man, there's going to be some good Aurora photography out of this. Okay, you should be out here taking pictures. You should. It's already starting to get daylight here. Where I'm at, if you happen to be in Washington State, you might be able to get out and see something. But look at that. That is awesome. Okay, now in the South Pole, we're going to check the South Pole. Look at that. I mean, they can almost see it in Australia. That's pretty close. The old land down under just about got a show. In fact, as a matter of fact, if you were in I'm going to actually say if you were in southern Australia and you were looking south and you had a telescope, you might have actually been able to see some of this, even though it's not directly over you. If you were facing it along the surface of the water, you know, and you happen to be looking south, you might have actually seen some of this in the sky. So, I mean, because don't forget, I mean, you can not just point it up, you can point it along the land or the water towards the sky, and you might be able to actually see some of this stuff. It doesn't have to be directly over you in order for you to see Aurora. Remember that. So definitely get out and get some photos if you can. Now, what's causing all of this? This right here. That's right. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Do you guys remember the plasma rain I was showing you guys? Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Now, you see this right here? This right here was that eruption that we had the other day, and it pushed plasma up here into this coronal hole. This coronal hole is not only very large, it's very deep. So there's going to be a lot of hard solar winds coming out of this thing. Okay, now, we did see that yesterday. We saw the beginnings of it, the front end of it, and then that plasma pushed up into it, which is honestly, in my opinion, it blended in with the solar winds and caught a upgraded charge or a ride, if you will, and increased it as it came down the solar winds, as it rode down that path. So the plasma got to come down very quickly, but because it got in there, it also created the density, which is why we have the friction and the heat. So, yeah, fun stuff. Now, don't forget, with all the solar winds and with coronal mass ejections, especially with all the pressure, what are we going to get? We're going to get an increase in volcano activity and earthquakes. Look at this, what just happened this morning at 9:42 a.m. UTC time. Central Mid-Atlantic Ridge, M6.9. Whoa, that's a massive freaking quake right there. Look at this. Folks, it would not surprise me if there was a tsunami out of this. Let's see how deep it went, how deep it was. Only 10 kilometers. That's pretty shallow, folks. There could be a tsunami in this area. In fact, why don't we go take a look at that real quick? So far, everything, there's no buoy going off, but that doesn't make sense to me. With a 6.9 at only 10 kilometers, there should have been some kind of disturbance on the surface of the water, in the water. But we will keep our eyes on it, folks. So keep your eyes open. No fear, and remember that love is the only way forward. Solar Wolf out.